Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's Keshwani, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for SAT. We have been solving SAT grammar questions out of this book here, the official SAT study guide. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problems that we are about to solve are the ones that you will find on page number 410. Please turn to it. Page 410. And today is our lesson number 4. Let's take a look at it. The very first one, the very first question in the first column, number 20. As I explained to you yesterday, there are 18 of these questions, which means the first 6 questions approximately are easy, which means the last page, the page that we did yesterday, the last page, page number 409, they were all easy questions. In the first column in the left hand side, they are medium questions, and the right hand column contains the hard questions, altogether 18 of them. So these are medium ones. Number 29, it says, according to some demographer, and they have the word according to, they have the words according to underlined. Do you find anything wrong with that, according to these people? There's nothing wrong with that, obviously. According to him, according to her, according to these people. The number of US citizens aged over 65, number of US citizens over 65 or older, so far we find nothing wrong. Number of US citizens 65 or older is likely to rise, So far so good, it's likely to rise to 87 million by 2050. One more time, according to them, the number of US citizens aged over 65 or older is likely to rise to 87 million people. There is nothing wrong with this sentence. This sentence is fine just the way it is. The answer is E. The answer is E. How does one improve this sentence? The answer to that question would be one does not improve this sentence. It is a beautifully written sentence. Number 21. Next one. When they were asked to compare, you find anything wrong with the sentence so far? No. When they were asked to compare, it's fine. When they were asked to compare Norman Rockwell's paintings to painter Robert, the students entered into a prolonged discussion. The students entered into a prolonged discussion. That's also fine. The students entered into prolonged discussions. That's also fine. So what is wrong with this sentence? What is wrong with this sentence is this part right here. To painter Robert. That part is underlined. They underlined that part. To painter Robert. And what's wrong with it? What is wrong with this? What is wrong with this is the fact that the sentence starts out by talking about not a painter, but his paintings. They start out by talking about Norman Rockwell's paintings. Do they have apostrophe S? They must. Yes, there you go. Norman Rockwell's paintings. It starts out by talking about his paintings. Now, if you're going to talk about this guy's paintings and you're going to compare this guy's painting to something else, that something else also has to be somebody else's paintings or somebody else's some other work. It cannot be a person. You cannot go around comparing this guy's painting to the other guy. It has to be the other guy's painting. It says Norman Rockwell's paintings to not painter Robert, but Robert's paintings. When the students were asked to compare Norman Rockwell's paintings to Robert's paintings, the student entered into a prolonged discussion. That's what's wrong with it. The answer is B. The answer is B. While we are at it, let me make a little digression here. They talk about prolonged discussion. Let's learn a word which appeared recently on the SAT, which means prolong or long-winded. And the word was, let's see if I want to make sure I spell it properly. Protracted. Instead of the word prolong, they could have used the word protracted. They did not use the word protracted because this is not about vocabulary. That's the reading portion of the exam. This is about the grammar. So they wanted to make sure that you don't get bogged down in the vocabulary of the thing. They want you to concentrate on the grammar. What does it mean, protracted? It means drawn out, lengthy, long discussion. Lengthy and long discussion. It doesn't have to be discussion. It could be lengthy, long, drawn out, protracted. Do you understand? A protracted discussion, a protracted comment. It could be anything. Do you understand? It just means lengthy. The reason I haven't erased this part yet is because we used this word yesterday, and you used it yesterday, and I actually forgot to talk about it. Forte. Forte is somebody's strong points. Forte is something that somebody is good at. And the way I used it in the context yesterday is that I said, making boo-boos is what I do. That's my forte. That's my strong point. We learned this word forte on day number 48. Day 48. The antonym of forte would be foible. That's somebody's weak point. That's somebody's weakness. Something that they're not strong at. That's their foible. Forte and foible. Protracted is something that I do not believe we have learned it in our vocabulary lessons. I don't recall it. I don't think so. And I don't see it in my list here. We may have, but I don't think so. But forte and foible is something that we learned on day number 48. Just type in SAT vocabulary words, day 48, and you will learn these two words along with some other words to help you improve your vocabulary if you're interested in getting a decent score in the reading portion of the exam. So that was it. This was number 21. Let's go on to the next one, number 22. Number 22. Contrary to what many people believe, and do you find anything wrong with it so far? There is nothing wrong with it so far, which means answer is not A. I do not know what the answer is, but it's not A. Answer is not A, because there is nothing wrong with it. Contrary to what many people believe, heat lightning is not lightning. All right. Heat lightning is not lightning. Is not lightning, which is also fine. This is also fine. That one was fine. There is nothing wrong with it. Contrary to popular belief, contrary to what many people believe, it says heat lightning is not lightning. I don't know what the hell they're going to do with it. Heat lightning is not lightning. Sorry, I didn't read the rest of it. Heat lightning, they tell us that it's not lightning by heat. It is ordinary lighting that occurs at too great a distance. At too great a distance. At too great a distance. At too great a distance for its accompanying thunder to be audible. To be audible. There is nothing wrong with this part also. This part is D. This is also fine. At too great a distance is idiomatic. It's an idiom. At too great a distance. It may not sound right to you, but it is perfectly fine as far as the grammar is concerned. Do you understand? Did they win the war? Yes, they did win the war, but at too great a cost. Yes, we did win it, but at too great a cost. At great cost. You can say we won it at great cost, or we can say we won it at too great a cost. As I said, it's an idiom, but it is fine. There is nothing wrong with it. The answer is E. The answer is E. The problem with idiom is that there are about 4 or 5 concepts that they test in the exam. I'm going to put them on the blackboard here so that you can have them. As I explained to you earlier in the first 2 days, so in the first 3 days, the concept that they're testing in this portion of the exam, the grammar, multiple choice grammar questions, they're testing simple, elementary, basic elementary concept of English language. They do not go into nitty-gritty, very simple concept that they're testing. I'm going to give you the list so that you know what to look for. The very first thing we should look for is subject-verb agreement. Do you understand? Let me give you a very simple example to make you understand subject-verb agreement. The rear books. Let's see if you can hear. I'm not going to write all of it, just listen to me. The rear books that were found in the basement of the library during the last renovation is Mr. Smith's donation. One more time. And of course in the real exam, they will not be so nice. They will go on forever, a little bit longer. I made it very short. They're going to give you a lot of mumbo jumbo between the subject of the sentence and the verb. The rear books which were found in the basement of the library during the last renovation. The rear books that were found by the workers during the last renovation in the basement of the library, whatever it is no, not is. I'm just giving you a simple example. You understand? I'm making it up. It's books. The subject of the sentence here is books. Books has to be are. So here's your first problem, subject-verb agreement. That's the very first thing we should look for. Subject-verb agreement is the very first thing we should look for. The next thing that they test, the next thing that you look for are tenses. Make sure the sentence stays in the right tense. If the sentence starts out in the past tense, it must continue in the past tense. It cannot change tense. We saw one example of that just yesterday, as a matter of fact. See if I can find it very quickly, where it wasn't the right sentence, or where it wasn't the right tense. There, number 15. If you turn the page, and if you go to the previous page, number 15, it starts out by saying, Jerome often referred to history books. And then they go on to say that he seeks out the work. No, if he referred with the ed at the end in the past tense, then it has to continue the past tense. It cannot be he seeks out, he sought out. That's what's wrong with it. So that's the tense. That's the second part, second thing we have to look for. I'm going in the list to make you understand as to what went on in the ones that we just finished. The third thing that they test, that's one of their favorite, third thing that you should look for is adverbs. Adverbs. Many a people these days, oh there we go again, many a people, you see? Many a people. It just came out of nowhere. At too great a cost. What was the one that we just finished? It came out of nowhere, as a matter of fact. I'll tell you exactly what I was going to say. At too great a distance. There we go. At too great a distance. At too great a distance is something that we just saw in number 22. It's an idiom. These are idioms. At too great a distance. At too great a cost. Many a people. We could say many people, but many a people is perfectly fine. It's an idiom. Many a people, I forget now what I was going to say, these days do not worry about their adverbs. They forget about adverbs. They drop the adverbs. And they end up telling their kids, I've heard many a times that go around shouting at their kids, play nice. What the hell does it mean, play nice? One cannot play nice. One has to play nicely. Nicely. whenever I go to visit somebody in their house, and they have this habit these days, as I said, people, to butcher the language. These days, butchering the language has become a pastime, a national pastime. And I go to their house and I visit them, and as we are leaving the house, they will politely tell you, they will politely give you advice to drive safe. They will nicely tell you, drive safe. At which point, of course, invariably, I start looking around and I say, find me Mr. Safe, and I will drive him. Because that's what it means to me. It means to me there is somebody in the room named Safe, Robert, Michael, and I am to drive that person. Where is the Mr. Safe? What they mean to say is drive safely. One needs an adverb. So that's the third thing that they are testing in the exam that you should look for. And then you should look for singular and plural. Singular and plural. If something starts out in singular, it has to remain in singular. If it starts out in plural, it has to remain in plural. The subject has to agree with the verb. They have to agree. If they talk about, let's see if we actually we did see that example of that just yesterday also. Just give me 1 second and I'll find it also. Where I remember distinctly where the subject was, oh, there you go, right there. Number 19. Number 19 is exactly what they're talking about. Let's look at number 19. In number 19 on the previous page, they talk about before boarding, passengers with S, passengers must purchase his ticket. No, it cannot be. Passengers is plural. The subject of the sentence is plural. If the subject of the sentence is plural, it should remain plural. Passengers must purchase their ticket, not his ticket. Passengers must purchase their ticket. Singular, plural. If it starts out, as I said, in plural, it must remain plural throughout the sentence. And finally, the last thing, the fifth item that they look for in the exam is what we're dealing with here, which are idioms. Now, the reason I'm making such a big fuss about idiom is because, as I explained to you before, idioms are very difficult for a non-native person to master because they have no rhythm or rhyme to it, a rhyme to them rather, not it, they. You see, get it? They. They have no rhythm or rhyme to them, not it. They have no rhythm or rhyme to them. It's just something. It's just some simple matter of. It's just a matter of knowing them. You just have to know them. You have to know whether it sounds right or wrong by simply knowing them. There are no rules you can follow, and that's why idioms are very difficult for a non-native person such as myself to master. Many people may sound wrong, but it's fine because it has become an idiom. It's just a way of speaking. Anyway, that was it. So those are the 5 items we should look for in the exam. What number were we at? That's it. So number 22, in number 22 the answer is E. There is nothing wrong with it. Number 22 was E. Let's go on to 23. The groove and barbed spears. What is the subject of the sentence? You must always ask yourself the very first thing you should ask yourself as soon as you finish reading the sentence is, or better yet, even before you finish reading the sentence, like I just did, the groove and barbed spears. Spears. That's the subject. It's spears. Remember, spears of the box jellyfish. Of the box jellyfish. Each trailed by a poisonous thread is released. Let's see, I must have missed something. The groove and barbed spears of the box jellyfish, each trailed by a poisonous thread, is released. Do you see a problem? Everything that I abbreviated, it goes on to say the groove and barbed spears. Everything that I put in there with the first letter, it's not important. This part is not important to us. This part is not. The groove and barbed spears of the box jellyfish. That's not important to us. Each trailed by a something, something, something. That's not important to us. Only thing that is important to us is this part right here. So I'm going to erase everything that is not important to us. We just want to concentrate on the subject of the sentence, which is the spheres and nothing else. None of this is important to us. And now you will see immediately that it goes on to say that spheres is. We have a problem with singular and plural. The sentence starts out in the plural, but the verb that they use is singular. It cannot have a singular verb. It has to be are. The spheres are. Everything else that you see in the sentence, as I told you before, it is your job to learn to ignore that mumbo jumbo, the crap that they give you in between. Do you understand? It is learn how to concentrate on the important bits, the juicy bits, and learn how to ignore, how to throw away the annoying bits. So that was number 23. Number 24. Number 24. The derelict old house across from the warehouse. The derelict old house across from the warehouse. So far I find nothing wrong with it. Across from the warehouse or across from the warehouses is not going to make any difference. The derelict old house, there is nothing wrong with that phrase. The derelict old house across from the warehouses, and even more decrepit one just besides them, have been placed. Now why do they use the word have? Because they're not talking about just one house, they're talking about two houses. The house across the warehouses and the one besides them. There are two houses here. The derelict old house across the warehouses and even more decrepit one just besides them. Apparently there are a whole bunch of warehouses on one side of the street, and there is a house just besides them, and there is another house across the street from them. That's why they're using have been placed on the list of historic landmarks. This sentence is perfectly fine. There is nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong with it. The answer is E. How does one improve this sentence? The answer is one does not. It's a beautifully written sentence. It is our job is to recognize that fact. I will see you tomorrow when we'll do the second column. Those are even more difficult. Alright? Bye now.